Ready to start?
Yes.
All right. So it is Tuesday, January 14th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. I'm calling to order a meeting of the advisory committee. Tonight's agenda includes the animal control budget, the town accountant's budget, tree warden's budget, and the Department of Public Works operating budgets, and a very quick overview of the capital requests. So let's start with Ms. Latham and animal control. That's budget number 292. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Thank you.
So at first glance, it appears that your budget is essentially level funded, except for the wages, which are increasing based on cost of living, right?
Yes.
I just think it's helpful for us to be reminded, and also for anyone who might be watching, can you just kind of run through what your year has looked like? And
Well, first of all, you have to understand that the animal control officer, that would be me, is on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, which works out to be, I think, $1 an hour. And I do get calls. The police will call me at 2 in the morning if there's a problem, or somebody's, anyway. When the police call me, it is always a reason that I really need to be there. But I also get calls for people who probably don't really need to talk to me at 10 o'clock at night. So that's really probably, it's not the hardest part of the job, but it certainly is one, that I think justifying even more than what we make makes sense. Because if I'm going to, go away for 6 hours, I have to call Phyllis and make sure that she's going to be okay to be on call. And if she isn't, I don't get to go. So that's what animal control is. And most of it, well, it has changed. I've been doing this for, I think, 30 years, a very long time.
Yep.
Back then, it used to be, herds of sheep and people just that live on the main drag opening their doors, and the dogs would be out in the middle of one.
How did you get in? Like, how did you find your way into this line of work?
Well, I have a degree in art. In fact, I've got a master's degree in art. And I knew when I was doing that, I went to San Francisco, lived in San Francisco for 2 years, and went to the Art Institute there and graduated from that. That there was going to be absolutely no way that I was going to make money doing that. But sometimes there are things that are more important than, as long as you have a place to live and food to eat and all that stuff. And so when I came back, I knew that was not going to be, what happened.
Yeah.
And so I worked for printing companies for a while, and, so I did a lot of dog training and showing dogs in obedience and competitions like that. And, I saw an ad in the paper, many, many years ago that Bolton was looking for animal control.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was. I was dumb. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know it was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Wow.
So I sort of stumbled into it.
And you mentioned it's changed a lot. So, like,
absolutely.
nowadays, what do the majority of your calls look like?
Neighbors that don't like each other.
You're a neighborhood mediator.
Yeah, I just sort of keep my head down.
Difficult.
Somebody that's new to the neighborhood that, isn't controlling their dog properly. And it's the same people, from one year to the next very often.
Well, at least the zinc family is There's not the zincs who have the pigs that used to run.
Oh, the pigs and sheep also.
Yes.
Yeah. He actually wound up going to court, and it took him about a year and a half, I think, to pay off all the fines that he accrued in his,
That was a long time ago, but I've been here a long time.
Can you just remind us, so you basically have three line items in wages. You have purchase of services, supplies, and then in-state travel. Can you just remind us the differences between those three line items?
well, in-state travel, you know, if I'm just coming over here to do paperwork, I don't, keep a tally. But Phyllis and I both keep tallies of how many miles we spent, if there's one particular item, how many miles, and where we went.
Yeah.
And so that there's a justification, and I don't turn it in every month, I turn it in every 2 months. Because I don't, lots of times I don't charge, the town for anything. I just go. And also, one of the things that we do when we pick up wildlife that are injured, and we have to take them to Tufts, round trip, that's about 54 miles.
Oh, that's a
So that,
Oh.
Yeah.
that sort of, and sometimes, and then the best part is that, like a little screech owl, I had to go back when it was all well, and I brought it back here and released it where I found it, which is on the library. So,
Yeah.
There are good endings.
Yeah.
There are good endings.
yes, there are
Remind us
wonderful
again.
endings. There really are.
Remind us again what's happening with the strays, because I remember Stowe had a facility and then they
Yeah, I used to
No,
run
and-
it, yeah,
were still doing
yes,
the Stowe thing?
yeah. No,
No, I didn't
not
think,
with
I
Stowe.
remember you said
Um,
you couldn't anymore.
Also, there are fewer times that we pick dogs up. If it's somebody that's a frequent flyer, if we know who owns the dog, we will always try first to get the dog back to the owner, coming, and it would come with a free lecture. I'm not sure I'm answering your question.
No, I just wondered where, because it was really cheap to do it in Stowe,
Oh, yeah.
and
What
now,
happens is, Phyllis has a facility where because Phyllis does a number of towns. She also now does Stowe, she does the town she lives in, I think Littleton also, and I know she does, the next town over too. So she has a facility that she can keep dogs in. And the problem with the Stowe one is that it was not much of a building, and in the wintertime, you sort of almost you had to have Karnak. You had to know 12 hours before you picked up the dog that you were going to pick up a dog and put it there, because it was concrete and it was very cold in the winter. So it works out better now, because also we have fewer strays in Bolton than we did 10 years ago. And we have very few that aren't ultimately picked up by their owners. I think, in fact, in the last 2 years, I think there was only one
wow,
that nobody ever showed up again. Yeah, so we also make a real effort to find out who owns
yeah,
what dog.
that's great.
So the purchase of services line, which is $350, is that primarily related to the services that Phyllis provides?
It would be that also. There are sometimes occasions in which, let's say I pick, well, actually, it's not so much with the stuff that goes to Tufts, because they don't charge us anything. But if I pick up a dog that's been hit by a car, I'm not going to just put it in the pound. I'm going to take it to vet and have the vet say, this dog needs to be euthanized, it's dying right in front of you, or, this is what the dog needs. So that's part of what we would use that for too also.
And then the supplies, I think you mentioned last year some of that is for things like food, but then what are some of the other things that are covered by supplies?
I don't think I ever put anything in how much was spent last year?
Well, so far for this year,
466, actual 19.
Okay, then I would, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. We do charge for gas, for instance, going down as far as, to Tufts.
Nanachka, do you happen to remember what gets paid for out of that supplies line?
No, but I can Google it.
It's not, I mean,
You guys can keep talking.
yeah, I mean, it looks, when we look at
It's gone
your,
down since the year before, and the year before that.
Yeah, I don't, well, except there'd be dog food.
yeah, I think that's one of the things you
You know,
mentioned.
for Phyllis, when she has dogs out there in the kennel.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know anything that I would really call supplies.
Yeah, because I don't see any spend today.
Really? Okay. Then that's the answer.
My
what
wife?
month is that?
This is through December.
I have,
You have something different than me?
yeah, so the one that I'm looking at, it looks like so far, 321
Oh,
has been spent out of the supplies line.
Then it may be something to do with Phyllis's keeping dogs there.
Yep.
That it's, food for them and all
Yep.
of that. Because I don't think I ever emptied, I put in mileage occasionally, but not supplies. Sorry, I can't be more help on that.
That's okay, well, Nanachka will.
I'm sure she'll figure it out in a
she
heartbeat.
printed this one off for me.
Yeah.
You guys said.
No, I think it's the same one, I think.
Half of it was Ketchum
okay.
Manufacturing.
Oh, okay.
What was
I'm
it?
sorry?
Ketchum Manufacturing, that's who the invoice was. Does that ring a bell?
I'm looking
No,
at
that doesn't make
something.
sense.
I'd have to pull the invoice.
Yeah,
And the rest is phone.
okay.
Ketchup.
Yeah,
So, truck.
It does, right? Well, does anyone else have any questions? Anyone want to make a motion to approve this budget?
So moved.
Okay.
All right, and just for the record, this is the total amount of $21,103.43. Is that what you have, Nanachka?
Correct.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, you're approved. Thank you so much for coming in.
And being so prompt.
I have that, some people have the genetic problem of always showing up early. I'm one of them.
Marry a guy.
I sit in the car because I don't want to appear like I'm.
I'm the same way. I always show up early for everything.
What the heck wrong?
I got
with me?
retrained in my
'Cause I'd rather be
Did
early
you
than
really?
late.
I'm not going to tell you how old I am, because it's a scary number. Anyway. Okay.
Thanks again. Thank
You're
you.
quite welcome.
All right,
Is it me?
next up is
We used to have to tell the
You.
husband that we had to be here.
hi. So why don't you just make this easy for us and walk us through it?
Okay, salary is step increase and COLA. The stipend is, I became a certified governmental accountant last year, so that's good. That's what that's for.
Can I ask, so is there anything you need to do to maintain that certification?
So I took the exam, which I got a 96 on, by the way.
Hey.
Uh-huh.
What'd you get it for? Points off on?
I know,
Yeah,
I wish I knew.
So can we reduce your stipend? to
Yeah,
9?
exactly. $960. I just have to go to school every year and maintain
Okay,
credentials, yeah. That should be easy. Purchases of services is every other year, and that is what we pay for the actuarial services for the OPEB valuation.
okay, so I've had a question, so the number related to the OPEB number that we have, you told me that the OPEB number we have is set for
It
this
is.
year. So was that determined by the actuarial analysis done like essentially in 2018?
No, it's 2019 numbers, but the license is a 2-year license that we have this program.
Oh, okay, I see. So they do it every year, but it's a 2-year license?
Right, so I do it, actually.
right.
I have
Yeah,
the
right, right.
program and I input it,
Okay,
so if you hear me throwing things in there, it's usually because of OPEB.
got it, okay.
Yes. It's a nasty word now. Software support is Vadar. That's our accounting system. Audit is the audit. Supplies, office supplies, things like that. Meat,
So the audit's going up $500?
yes. And I think this is the last year that it was a 3-year cycle, or 4, I can't remember off the top of my head. But that, I confirmed with them that that's the number, but then we'll have to get new numbers for 22.
And are,
Probably go up.
do we go out to bid for that? How does that work?
I don't have to. I mean, I really like them. I think they're
Yeah.
really good. I would personally keep them.
So that's the first of several years at 1650?
No, that's the last year.
Okay,
Yeah, it was 16, 16, 16.
500.
So next year, we can probably anticipate another increase. Okay.
I'm sure. But maybe it'll be the same. Who knows?
Supplies, it's dog food, right?
Exactly. Office supplies, file folders, you know,
You notice the
staplers.
previous few years were in the 200 range, and you were approved for 800. Do you know how you run on this year?
For supplies, no.
Last year's actual 185.
Yeah, but mine went way over on meetings. So,
Oh, I see what you did, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So I could drop that down and then up meetings.
Would it make sense to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that way we know where.
So maybe like change supplies to 400 and change meetings to 18?
Wow, why would you change them to 4? Because in 2018 it was 200 and 20.
It was 650 and 17 though.
Yeah.
I mean, it just
Where?
In
Oh, yeah,
17?
in 17 was 650.
Yeah.
Hmm.
depends, like if I had to buy a printer or something.
Well, without changing your bottom line, what would you be comfortable with for supplies/meetings allocation?
Yeah, that's fine. We could do 400, 1800.
Okay. So the total would still be $95,214.44.
Correct.
Any other questions?
Mm-mm.
Move we approve this?
I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Painless.
Yep.
Hi there.
All right, next up we have the tree warden budget, Mr. Case. Hi. How's it going?
Good, how are you guys doing? I got a chance to meet your son.
I know. Before he said that, the tree warden, I said, well, not personally, I mean, I see him maybe once a year.
Yeah.
He's such a nice man.
I know him personally.
So how is everything?
Doing well. I think we're finally back on track.
So I just want to, so we're at 294, and looks to me like it's a level funded
It
request.
is. Yep.
Do you want to just walk us through it?
So I would like to step back a little bit. 2000, just to kind of explain why we were over on some stuff in the past.
Yeah.
So 2018, we had a new contractor. So we had a 2-year contract for 18 and 19. Typically, our bid specifications are written based on equipment. You must have this, this, and this, and it's an hourly rate. Never dealing with that company before. In the 28 years that I've been tree warden, we've had probably 7 different contractors. And so 2018, we had a fair amount of work done by National Grid. We never got that contractor in. They had a 2-year contract. So 19 comes around, we encumber all the money and have them start in 19. And I shortly after that met with Dawn, the second day they were here, and their performance was not even close to our expectations. And if we pulled the plug on the contract, we would have lost all that encumbered money. So we worked through it, and now moving forward, we're doing our bidding process a little bit different. We're going to be getting a list together of certain trees that need to be removed, and then we'll advertise those particular groups of trees. They'll be numbered and a map and everything, and then we'll get a price on removing these 20 trees.
Wow.
And we're gonna be bidding probably 3 or 4 times a year instead of once every 2 years. It's a little more legwork, but I think it's probably the way we should go for a little while.
And
We
you
will
have the technology to, like,
Yes.
do all that?
Yep.
Yeah.
So one thing that we will be doing still is we will be awarding an hourly rate to a company so that we have them in our back pocket if we need just trimming or whatever. This is mostly for the removals, because the removals, if you get the wrong person in there, then it's very costly. So we, yesterday and today, had a contractor that we've had in the past come in and do work for the town. They did a few trees that the other company could not do. They passed over. They had the exact same equipment, but they didn't have the skills. So,
Can you tell us about the police detail? That was almost $8,000 last year?
so last year, we were doing 2 years' worth of work
Oh, so double.
because
the
we
amount.
encumbered the money. We did twice as,
Got it.
yes,
Now, look what they paid on the details in
right, 600.
2018, $640. So obviously
Yeah.
they didn't do
Right.
as much as they
Can
ever.
I ask you a tree-specific question?
Sure.
There's a tree on Harvard Road, I think it was an oak that got split.
Not anymore.
No, it's gone. But the trunk is still there, or it was this afternoon.
I believe if they didn't pick it up because they were in town today, if they didn't get it at the end of the day, then we'll have to.
Okay, all right, that was the only question I had.
So, for speed of removal, we can handle cleaning up the butt
Right.
of the tree. We can't handle taking the whole tree down.
Right.
So, the question is, should they take an hour basically by the time they go to the disposal yard, unload, come back, grab that and go to the next tree, or just try to keep the ball
Sure.
rolling? So, sometimes wood gets left behind on purpose.
Okay, I just wondered, because I noticed they had the red X on it.
Yep.
And then it was down, but as of about noon, it was still lying on the side.
Then it is still
It's
there.
another tree-specific question. I've noticed that when trees are taken down, the whole tree isn't taken down, they leave a certain amount of trunk.
So that, we try not to do that anymore. That is when National Grid removes the trees.
I see.
As the
Okay.
town, we take them and cut them as low as
Oh, I
possible.
wondered,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
That's-
So we still are dealing with like the standing totem poles from
Yeah.
National Grid. Yeah.
I
National Grid does exactly what it needs to do and no more.
I also have a question, but it's not a specific tree. But what happens to the stuff that's being disposed of? Is there any market for it, or?
So we don't even mess around with it when we have the contractor in, because once again, time is money. It all goes to the closest disposal yard is Cross Stream Leasing up on Route 70 in Lancaster, and they grind it.
Okay.
And so in some cases, like the trees that they removed first thing this morning, the adjacent landowner wanted the wood, so they set the wood on the adjacent landowner's property.
Oh, okay.
And if we can use it have some of the taxpayers take advantage of it.
Yep.
Years and years ago, we put some wood down at the transfer station before it was a transfer station and let people cut it. Someone got hurt, tried to sue the town.
Oh,
So, I mean, you can't have someone running a chainsaw, that's not
No.
skilled or whatever. So that's when we started shifting to go to the disposal yard.
Yeah.
If we can have, the problem is if it's a homeowner here in town, they have to take the good with the bad. We're removing the trees mostly because they're dead or they're a hazard. So there's either a lot of rot, there's insects, so not everybody wants to take the brush and the tree, because you have to be set up for it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I totally screwed you, Mark, and did not put in the COLA.
That's okay. It was probably a lot, it was probably a lot of money.
Yeah, I know, I was like, wait, why is it the same as last year?
That is just fine.
No, I mean, we'll do that.
So I can tell you what it is.
Okay. All right, so do you have all the numbers?
So it would just be that 3542 would go up to a whopping 361255.
Okay. And
And then the bottom line number would be 5211255.
Okay.
I move we approve the budget as described.
I second it.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
So what's the final revised total again?
52,
52.
112, and then 55 cents.
Can't forget that.
Okay, and then we're gonna close out the evening with Department of Public Works.
Keeping a pretty good schedule.
Weird.
Dead on, dead on.
The two dogs and the two cats, and we had to do the kid switch, you know?
Anyone?
Good, how are you?
Good to see
Thanks
you.
for being here. And before we get there, I just wanted to set the stage. When we get to the capital items, our purpose tonight is to just have you kind of walk us through at a fairly high level what they are. We are not gonna deliberate or get into the weeds because we're gonna have that discussion with Don Lowe later on.
Sure.
So I just wanted you to, this isn't the night where we're gonna be asking exhaustive questions about those things.
Excellent.
All right, so why don't we just start with 190, which
Okay.
is town buildings. So that seemed like there was virtually no change except for the addition of a gas mileage reimbursement.
It was a shift from one other budget line into this particular account, just as a matter of accuracy. A building custodian charges mileage, gets reimbursed from their mileage. It's always been, historically been, in 421. Got nothing to do with public works. It's a building's function, so
Yep.
we thought it was appropriate to pull it out of there and to put it into 190, just so it's more accurate of what the cost it takes to maintain the buildings.
Okay, and did you, I know Nanachka had mentioned maybe we're trying to not add different light items. Do you think that there's any reason why it couldn't be included in 5240?
No, I don't think it matters where it goes. Again, there is a line that could be added. It doesn't need to be, as long as it's, more accurately in 190. I think it's fine.
Okay,
And I could track it in my account summaries if it need be,
okay.
you need to know.
So where would we put that?
So basically what we'll do is,
It's empty.
we'd add 1,600 to this
Oh,
5240?
repairs and maintenance
Oh, okay.
line.
Yep.
It seems like an awfully specific number, the 11,115,392.
What?
Well, that,
5240.
That's just adding all the different,
and what we're gonna do is basically bump that up to 116,992.
And strike the 1,600 from below.
You got that, Nanachka?
Yes.
116 what?
992. So the bottom line number would stay the same. Am I confused in thinking that the rest of this budget is usually handled by Dawn? Is that correct for
Rest of-
190?
No,
You guys do everything else?
I think you're thinking
No.
of 192.
Okay, that is what I'm
that's
thinking.
town hall itself.
That's right.
Right, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we're looking at the physical infrastructure of the building, and I think,
Yeah.
town hall as a building is actually, it's the function that occurs within this building.
Yeah. Did anyone else have questions about 190? So does anyone want to make a motion to approve 190 for a total, for a total of 145,542?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Can I just ask one question? I know you just approved it, I'm sorry. The grounds maintenance, I'm just curious why that's so much higher than
remember when Harold was here, when we first purchased the Common?
Yes.
And we were concerned about the ability of our crew to sufficiently mow, maintain. We didn't really know what to expect. And Joe and I were talking this evening, and Harold also discussed maybe hiring a contractor
Okay.
if it became too much. So that's why there was the additional 7,000. That was like 4 years ago, I think, 3.
And it was an unknown entity at the time, and it hadn't even been conveyed to the town. It's only been conveyed to the town for just over a year.
Okay.
And we were already seeing like a pump that already needed to be replaced, and the buildings,
Right.
and the pavilions. They're just going to need some effort that we just aren't fully aware of what they're going to be, but we know it's an effort.
So that's there just in case, or do you have a plan for it?
I mean, great example is we requested the same last year, but we only spent 5362
Okay.
of it and turned some money back.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, but that's not such a great thing. It'd be
No,
nice
but-
not to have to raise it.
Right, but if we need to do a
Use it
repair,
somewhere
it's better than coming out on an emergency,
Well, it
request to
depends on where you
transfer.
look at it.
I
You
agree
might have
with
been
that.
able to use it somewhere else. So if you think that's gonna be too much again, maybe we should lower it.
No, I think what we're probably, having gone through the first year of actually mowing it on our own and looking at the structure, I think we're probably looking at bringing the contractor in to maintain the trees and the flowers and the lawns on that common.
So I guess the nub of the question is, at the end of December, you spent already 6,000 out of the 17,000. So do you think you're gonna run through 11 grand between now and the end of June, right? That's what seems like there's a fair possibility.
I mean, I know right off the bat, we have a $600 well pump repair. I mean, I know that right off the bat that we just haven't done yet.
Yep.
And then there's likely to be, some work with a couple of the trees that have toppled over, and not the new Christmas tree or the holiday tree, but some of the apple trees that need to be replanted. So there's those types of things that, as a
Where
new
are the
property
apple
owner,
I don't know. I never
if you're in
looked at
the
it.
Main Street looking in,
Yeah,
that whole left-hand side beyond, there's 6 apple trees in there. 2 of them are toppled over. I don't know if the kids are swinging on them or just don't know why.
Yeah.
They're fully leafed out, they look beautiful, it's not like they're dying.
Yeah.
So we think they may be vandalism.
Well, most of the work you would do for that is come in springtime work anyway, you don't do that in the
Spring and
winter.
fall,
Yeah,
spring and fall.
yeah, so,
so that would be mostly May and June, right? So
April, May, June.
You could start in April, a lot of money for 3 months.
You could have started
I think
this
a
week.
lot.
Could have.
Yeah, I mean, I could go either way. I think,
Why-
I think if we
why don't
knock
we
it down
leave it-
about 4.
Why don't we leave that in there for the nonce, it always can be transferred out.
No, but that's the problem. We're always looking for money and looking for money, every $1,000, $10,000.
But we haven't gone through the whole budget yet,
$4,000.
so
It
let's,
doesn't matter, every year it's the same, we always look for money. I mean, it's not right to leave it like a bank account in there and it'll roll back. You have to understand, we have to raise taxes for that amount of money, no matter how you look at it, right?
yeah, I mean, based on the historical and what you've spent till now, it seems like even if it were to drop down to 13,000, that would probably be enough to get you through the end of the year.
Let's set a precedent, to see, and we'll raise it next year if it's so much over, with the care that it needs, but, I wouldn't expect you to go out and spend a whole
No, I
lot of
think
money.
it's fair enough.
just
If that's where it comes down, and if that's what the number is, we would put an RFP out with a level of effort of what we'd expect for the contractor, the landscaping contractor to perform.
Yeah.
And we would give him not to exceed price.
Right.
And you do what we want and make sure you don't exceed that price.
Well,
And
why
if
would
we
you-
find that the care is deficient, then we can talk about it next year. If we
Well,
find-
why would you give someone the price? Because then he's gonna say, okay, I could do everything for that price, when maybe he could have done it for 12. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no, we wouldn't,
Why-
we wouldn't put it
why
out,
would-
we wouldn't put it out that way. We would give them a level of effort of basically spell out the scope that we thought would
And
fit
get
the
a price from them.
And
That
they
we
would
thought
give
would
a
fit the price.
Yeah.
And if we think that,
I get you.
and if we think that
Okay.
the appearance and the care of the grounds look adequate, then it was. And if it looks like geez, you know, we didn't quite fit the bill and we didn't measure up what we wanted, then we revisit the same question next year. And that's exactly how that number came to be when Harold first created it.
Yeah.
Was, you know, contracting it out.
Yeah, and just make sure that it's the kind of company, like we were just talking with the tree warden. One company they hired just wasn't up to par, and then the next one blew them out of the water. So that's kind of what you might have to
Sometimes
look
you-
at too, is,
Pay a little more to get
you
more.
know,
You don't want to blow.
I'm not sure they, yeah. That sometimes you actually have to pay more to get a good job.
So is there a motion to reduce that line?
Yeah, I think we should, I think it's a good idea. We can, obviously, we're open to discussing it again next year for whatever reason we think this wasn't good. But why don't we reduce that to 13 grand, which would bring the total down to 141,542, right, Anachka?
Correct.
So you're reducing the line to equal 13,000.
Yeah, we're reducing, grounds maintenance to 13 grand.
Okay, do we need a motion? for
Yeah,
that?
we should.
Okay, I so move.
Second, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay. All right. Next,
293?
yep, 293 traffic lights.
Pretty straightforward. It's only taking on additional electric costs for the new intersection, which will be up and running before July 1st.
Okay, right, all right, so that's the answer to the question, why the electric line is up by 42%.
Since the traffic light is
Okay.
increasing by.
We are using LEDs, so we're using the most efficient
Right.
fixtures out there, but they're not free.
We
The
know.
electricity won't be free.
Okay, so the total budget for 293 traffic lights is 1,800.
Move to approve.
Second? I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next up, 421 highway.
I just want to be clear and make sure, what we submit, we don't include the salary and wages piece because, the town accountant has work that they have to do. I believe the budget you have in front of you does include salary and wages for 421.
Yep.
So Natasha's giving you a copy of that this evening, so.
Can I just take a look?
Sure, make sure they agree, sure, I'm sure they do.
So is there a new sheet
Yeah,
or
I'll,
this is the right sheet?
He's checking now.
yeah, I'm checking.
Anyway,
This has salary and wages.
yeah, I don't like that one.
Yeah, so what you have in there is right. The only thing that I noticed is that my packet is missing the second page that has the rest of the transfer station, but it's in our budget spreadsheet. So anyway, basically, when we get to these numbers, you're gonna have to read them out to us, or at
Okay.
least to me.
Then I'll hand this right back to you at that time.
Okay, so let's start with highway. So the wages number, well, first of all, salary, that's step and COLA.
That's step and COLA for me. Leslie, you talking about? No, you're step and
No, I
COLA.
have
Step
a
and COLA.
step and COLA.
Step and COLA.
But
as well.
I'm not salary, I'm part of wages.
I'm part of the wages, that's correct.
Yep.
But non-union wages.
Non-
So, heating way up and you didn't cost more. Why, what's the increase in heating?
You mean the actuals?
The actuals, yeah. I meant the actuals, the 2019. It's like almost $2,000 more. And the same thing for purchase of services.
Yes, on the heating, what we saw is, commodity driven, both diesel fuel and heating oil were at a high a couple of years ago, they pulled back a little bit, and they have moderately increased a little bit this year. So our forecast is they're gonna probably continue along that trend, so that's how we justified that. Two years ago, those oil prices were extremely high. I think we're paying like $2.89 a gallon, and we're paying closer to $2.49 a gallon heating oil now.
Well, that's why I'm asking, so if you think it's gonna be higher than the $31.85 you requested, because it was almost $2,000 more. than what-
It's even hard for me to trend because we're only at the beginning of the heating system, so I've
Well, we
I
just
could tell you where we
trended
are.
the prices.
Let me tell you where we are right now.
Because it looks like maybe it's not enough.
It'd be hard to predict with what's happening now in the Middle East. Don't know where it's.
I'm not even going there.
No.
Exactly.
No, I mean, you can't predict.
Right now, 421 heating we're at 31.85, and right now we have $2,722 available right now, and because we had our first heating bill in
But
January.
it's the beginning of the heating season, so it's really, you can't trend from what we've already done because we still have though we had a very cold December, we still have the winter ahead of us. What we do run on 421, most of our heat is generated by waste oil, so it's cost neutral. So what we're really looking at is only supplementing our heating oil with oil that we buy off the street. Most folks are bringing it in, and that's what we're burning.
But the price is way different from 2018 now?
Heating oil prices?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a little
they are.
higher.
Well, then you need, seems to me, not enough money. I don't know.
No.
Leave it.
Well, we were also level funding too. And, and I know with things like heating, electric,
No, but we looked at that. I mean, so prices in 18 were relatively cheap, relatively inexpensive. They went up. This went up substantially 2 years ago, and that's what drove that number up that year. They pulled back last year. They've increased ever so slightly this year. And we believe that we can, based on what we're using, we're probably going to trend very similar to where we were last year. And I
I'm
think
wondering,
think
electric's gonna be the same thing, because it looks like kind of from the actual in 2017 and 2018 and 2019. I don't remember the particulars last year, because we had to see those numbers
let me
last year.
see. Let me just look at my electric for last year.
Well,
Yeah,
that is a moving target. What we did is, with Green Communities, we actually have relamped most of our electricity in our building is either running the heating motors or all of our lighting in the building. And they've actually relamped everything to LED. So we really, and based on that forecast, we believe, they tell us we're gonna see these types of savings.
Because we were almost 4,000 over last year,
yeah, that's what
19 with electric.
I know. But because I don't know what the request was in 2017 and the request was in 2018, I don't have that. It's pretty much, similar in cost, the expenditure for electric. But you've asked for a lot less.
Huge.
Just
Well,
don't
we
know.
hope, we don't know.
Well, I mean.
We haven't realized it yet.
Based on my own electricity, it is. Have you thought about solar panels?
I mean, I think my personal view is I want to make sure that your actuals are not that far away from what's budgeted. And when I look at the budget for the total budget for FY 2019, it was 128,705, and your actual was 127,000, which is really only a difference of $1,700. To me, that seems like it's, even if some of the lines within it are moving targets from year to year based on the price of oil or whatever it happens to be, like the overall target seems to be pretty on.
Then why have that line item? You know what I mean? Why don't we just say, as long as you're close, you spend it how you want, how you need to? You know what I mean? I like to know.
Bob, you had a,
Yeah, your heating bill is gonna vary with the weather. Your electric bill, that's how much sun you get. Because we're not doing any heating with electricity. So your usage from year to year should be fairly constant. And the only difference will be if there's a big change in price. I don't see electricity usage being variable with the weather. I guess, so I don't think that and the use of heating fuel are comparable.
That's why I'm thinking, I would rather see it closer to, I mean, maybe there's another place that. It's kinda hard.
basically reducing repairs, the repairs line a little bit.
And increasing the electric.
So we're on, so right up
Not
through,
necessarily.
right up through January 1st, call it halfway through the fiscal year, we have spent $1,100 round numbers in electricity. So we are trending towards, now, you're gonna burn more electricity in the longer dark hours in the wintertime, so we're trending, yeah.
I didn't put that by, that's wrong.
Oh, that's, not, it's
I
line
was,
above it,
it's, I had
it's
it
just an error,
twice.
okay,
That's
got
an
it.
error. So we're trending, we're.
So we're, yeah, so it's yeah, you're right, $3,400 as of right now, halfway through the year, it's trending towards 64 in electricity. Just if you, all things being equal.
Yep.
And so the ask for this year's budget is 5,000, so we're trending $1,000 short
This year.
for this year, which, and then asking for the same amount for next year. So would be theoretically trending even that much more. Are we gonna, the question becomes, are we gonna save $1,000 by relamping? Are we gonna save 20% by relamping? And the Green Communities folks say, we will. I hope so. So that's on the electric, with the, just one, and it's de minimis. The office, DPW office is electric heat. It's relatively small compared to the overall campus, but that is electric heat. So that does drive a little higher demand in the wintertime.
Yep.
Can you say something about the repairs line? If you can off 10,000, do you have something specific in mind that's going to be repaired that maybe budget so much higher?
So this is equipment repairs. This is, the repairs of the rolling stock. It's just what we've been spending. The stuff is just heavy maintenance driven, and there's a lot of it. What we've had to do in the past is underspend lines at the end as we've incurred expenses during the year, and it just prevented us from carrying out some of the other things at the end of the year.
Yeah, but, wait, I'm confused. So you're saying you needed more money for repairs than, because,
No, we didn't.
no, that's not what he's saying, because you were budgeted 57 and you spent 46.8, so you have enough money in that line to do repairs.
And sometimes it depends on when the snow flies, because when the snow starts, we could go into the snow repair budget. If you have where you don't have to hit 421 until the end of the season. But if you have a light year, you could be using more money out of that. And I think we've had that
Wait, you mean snow and ice budget?
for 23. There's a repair budget.
If a breakdown happens on a piece of equipment,
While you're
That's a,
plowing.
Right.
that is a
Right, that
dedicated
goes-
snow machine,
Right.
like some of the
Most
sand
of
as well.
our,
And that gets repaired during the
you
winter.
can-
That repair gets charged to.
You can take it out of
23.
highway and put it in snow and ice, or you take it
no, we
out of snow
take
and
it
ice?
out of snow and ice.
And
If
put it in
it's,
hot, I didn't know you.
no,
No, we're not even doing that. Let me just be clear. Some of our machines are multifunctionally used for different purposes, like
Okay.
pickup trucks that are small dump trucks that we plow snow with. If a repair happens to the plowing piece of that truck in the wintertime, that repair gets charged to 423. The repair, like changes of oil or tires or anything else on that truck,
Or the transmission.
on the
Yeah.
front end,
Every-
or that goes
a
to,
lot.
that goes to 421 during the year.
21.
There are large trucks that are strictly, those are the big 42,000 GVW trucks, that are strictly snow trucks. We may make a repair in the summertime, just in anticipation of getting ready. We would still charge that repair to that truck to 423.
Right.
So it's not like we're mixing and matching
I
and,
get you.
you know, how it works. No, it's very specific to the equipment. And when
I
the,
see it, that now.
and we
Yeah.
can't, for the
Got
most
it.
part, if you're using the trucks and it's not snowing, and something breaks down, it goes to 421. So if you say the snow doesn't, we don't get snow till February.
All those
You could,
repairs.
this budget could go, yeah.
All goes for that. 'Cause you'll never know.
Exactly, it's like, yeah,
and then, the other risk we run is the degree of the type of failure and the degree of repair that's necessary. I mean, just yesterday and this morning, we're wrestling with what's probably a very substantial repair in the front end loader. We never would have seen it coming, never would have seen it coming. It
The
was
equipment's aging and
3 years ago, it went out for some major repairs then, and in the hopes it would last many more years, and 3 years later, we're finding the transmission's
This isn't
probably.
the new loader, right?
The new is the backhoe, this is the loader, the old loader, that was
Didn't we buy a loader like 3 years ago?
backhoe,
We bought a backhoe and a loader.
backhoe loader.
Separate
It's
the repair.
The front piece of it's called it's called the backhoe loader, that's what they bought 3 years ago. And they also refurbished
Or maybe
the
that's-
old front end loader for $25,000 as
No,
capital.
there was something, I have to look at the, I'll look at it.
Why separate repairs? I mean, if the truck, why put repairs in snow and ice just to, and it's this one truck that, or however many, that are dual purpose? And then just because it breaks down when it's snowing, you take it out of snow and ice, and then when it's doing the other jobs that are not snow and ice and something happens to it, you take it out of, right? Isn't that kinda how we're talking?
No, I don't think you grasped what I was saying. They,
I thought that's what we just said.
a dump truck, the smaller dump trucks that they will use all summer long hauling the lawnmowers around.
Yeah.
That truck, when it needs repair or needs servicing, will be charged to 421.
Right, I get
But
that.
the front of that truck, that's dedicated with plow equipment, the
Well,
plow
that's what
frame,
you
the
said.
hydraulics and the plow,
Yes,
when it needs repair,
it's 423.
it's 423.
And the snow
But
budget
why?
get covered at the end of the year regardless of how
Right.
much gets spent.
Correct.
Yeah, but
So
I don't
it's a cost
understand.
of plowing if something breaks down on that truck in the front during a snowstorm.
Well, I mean,
So-
we don't even need repairs in snow and ice, just put all the money in 421.
Why would you do that?
Why wouldn't you do it?
well,
Well, you wouldn't do it because you can overspend
budget.
snow and ice.
Right.
You can't overspend 421.
Okay,
So if you've had extraordinarily bad winter,
the
you
repairs
can
are really.
overspend those specific repairs, whereas you can't overspend if it's in 421.
So if it's associated with the snow plowing and something breaks, that repair is done
Snow,
as part of a snow budget, right?
That's correct.
no budget.
And I want to be careful, not just because the snow's flying, not even because it's gotten cold yet, but when we start getting all those plow equipment ready in the fall.
Right.
To be,
Something ain't working.
just
Yeah,
getting it ready, and
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
hoses
You
that
gotta-
dry, the
yeah.
things that you need to do.
You gotta-
You know, we start charging
Maintenance
423
Yeah.
sometime early November, mid-November.
Got it.
I did want to just
Okay.
jump back up a second about the line to the wages. So the estimate that we have, the Notchka had included a note that you have a contract expiring, and I know we can't get into details, but I'm just wondering, is the request that we see reflected here, the 561,679, is that like a number we can take to the bank at this point, or is that subject to change?
So my understanding, and then Oscar, please correct me, is that everybody who's entitled to a step increase, and in the workforce there's only one, the labor force is only one, that's included in this. All of the others would rely only on a COLA, which is negotiated through collective bargaining.
Right.
And that this amount does account for a uniform percentage that's been thought to be a negotiating point. And that's what's included in here, correct?
No, just what's in the last contract. The only difference is you, Leslie, and one of the DPW guys. But other than that, nothing else has changed. So it's all based on the current contract. But there is a compensation reserve line item under town administrator.
Okay.
So that's where it is, that's where it is,
Alright.
okay. So not in this particular line,
Right.
but it's a set aside elsewhere.
Right, for police, DPW, fire negotiations.
Okay.
Did you want to turn to electric, turn it up by a couple of thousand, because we're gonna be under there.
Like 1,500, 6,500, instead of just 5.
You've been running over,
I mean, to be honest, I don't wanna bump it up unless we can take another line down.
Okay.
So,
well, you've been paying for it from somewhere. I mean, it's been working out, but I'd like to know, what is over, where's the money, where's it,
Let's
could be a bunch of
look at
different
19.
places. You know what I mean?
I mean, supplies has been all over the map, so,
All of them. Because of the-
but this is,
Hard,
Well,
yeah.
we could.
Plus
Supplies,
stickers.
how do
So-
we do?
Have stickers.
no, stickers, I think we need to
Leave.
leave based on.
Stickers are inspection
Yeah,
stickers.
Yeah.
that's based on,
And that's actually an easy one to
Yeah.
justify. There were two vehicles, both capital items last year that were, the new DPW director truck replacing a Crown Vic that never went for an inspection last year, and the maintenance vehicle that had failed inspection 2 years before, never went for an inspection last year. So adding those in, that's the difference.
Well, maybe you paid for the overage in electric with oil lube, because that was way down than what was budgeted.
That, and I think we've lowered it this year. If anything, I think it would probably be safest to take it out of supplies. I don't need pens.
I'll give you all the ones I've
You give
stolen
me, yeah,
over the
just give
years.
me, yeah.
when I look at yours, when I,
Printer
Supplies,
paper.
just so you know, covers like office supplies, but also things for the garage too, like
Wipes and
wipes,
toilet paper,
Clean
paper
it
towels.
and stuff.
but even things like part like Kimball Midwest, those, cause it's not repair stuff, it's that,
Stock.
it's stock. So it's not just, office supplies, it's, nuts and bolts and stuff that we're not using for repairs, that's
Until you
just.
need Right, you gotta have them there.
You gotta have them there, and, but that's something maybe I could think about putting into repairs if we
Right.
if we have to take money out of
1,000.
somewhere, that's probably,
Take 1,000 out of there, and maybe. House and supplies,
I'm just trying to look at what happened last year, and
the supplies is all over.
yeah, that's,
yeah.
because in the snow, when we're using them for winter, I could put them under 423,
yeah.
5,400. So, it depends.
As long as the bottom
Okay.
line stays.
And that's the thing too, the whole bottom line of the
Right.
entire account. And
And
that's-
then, I know
This
way
account has a
ahead.
lot of line items.
Right, that's what
Too
it
many,
is,
I
they're
think.
all over the place. Well, what about clothing allowance? Why
That's
is that,
contractual.
That's
Contractual.
contractual,
So
that's,
why it stayed steady and then it
Yes.
went up, okay?
And that was actually through, that line item actually increased through the last bargaining agreement.
right, right.
What about changing electric to 6,500? And changing supplies
That sounds good.
to 10,100?
So,
10,100 is $20 different?
No, supplies to 10,000.
So add 1,500 to electric and subtract 1,500 and shift that 1,500 over
From
to
supplies.
from
There's
supplies.
2 supply line items.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, there's a parts and supplies.
Oh,
talking
I
about
see, I'm looking at
5,400.
that one, okay.
5,400.
400.
Yeah.
Oh, you were looking at parts supplies.
Oh.
20.
the parts and supplies is like big truck parts,
Yeah.
not like screwdrivers and,
Okay,
So what is
So we're
electric going
taking-
up to?
65?
65.
and then supplies is going to
10,100.
10,100, okay.
Since we're on the, I think the heating adjustment we don't make. I was just seeing if there's an opportunity there too, but I don't think there is. Just, it's too early in the season to, and with the volatility, our oil is bought off a commodity market, off of an index. So as the world situation changes, as the index changes,
Right.
we simply pay a markup over that, so it
Yeah, you
is
can't-
subject to volatility.
yeah, I'm thinking it's gonna be higher, but
That's what it is.
The only other thing, I don't wanna open a can of worms, but it does look like your diesel for this year is, you're overdrawn on that line. So I don't know if there's an opportunity again to shift, just to reflect, because I think year to date, you're already at 6,000. And the budget is 5,500, or at least, sorry, this is as of the end of December.
So this would only be one extra warrant above that, what I have.
Let's see, diesel.
46.
Yeah, well,
Let's get settled with diesel question first.
well, that's what I was
Alright,
looking at.
alright, so, right now,
Taking some of the-
we're already 500 in the hole. And after winter's over, we're gonna have to, we're already, come March, April, whenever we have that last storm, we go back to 421, to that diesel, so,
All things being equal, once winter is over, we will fill that tank one more time at, $2,000. So if we're tracking 500 short now, we're gonna be 2,500 short year end.
and
with
last
once
year,
winter's over.
let's see where we were last year.
You mean actual last year was 5768.
But where
But-
were we this time
Oh,
last year?
okay.
That's what I'm looking at. So diesel. See, we did not. We had a storm. We had diesel in August and October, and we didn't fill up again until May. So our diesel was coming out of winter, snow and ice at that time, so we only went over budget by,
Is that somebody trying to get in?
I think so.
You're knocking on the window?
The door's on.
Doors unlocked.
we only went over budget by $268. So looking at that, and then
Yeah,
we've already,
year to date this year, 6,000, last year we were 5768, so
There's nobody out there.
I heard that, it almost sounded like it was in here though.
It did, like,
Maybe,
It sounded like it was
Window
from
or-
behind you.
I know, yeah.
Wait a minute, we haven't been drinking.
we all heard it, that's a scary thing.
and then
It
we-
is.
There it is again.
Probably a mouse or
It's- it's-
something,
it's-
probably a
it's-
raccoon in here.
Something in the, well,
It's been there a long time.
Yeah, we had an extra
Joe, you run point.
over,
You run point.
Okay. I mean,
we had another $2,500 this year before, and we didn't
Yeah.
have a fill up until May of 21,
Yeah.
6. So I think the reason that wasn't changed is because it was so,
right,
last year, you
it
know,
was okay.
it was okay, it's,
So this time, last year, we were 175 in the hole as compared to the yeah, to where, to, yeah. From November, no, diesel of last year, 19, we.
oh, okay, so,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and then, damned if you do, damned if you don't, kind of, do we have another 500, or do we?
If you were to add it, we're gonna take it from elsewhere, which would be proactively doing what we end up doing anyway. We put the budget in, if we find as the season's running low, we're running low, we just said we won't stock up on some supplies at the end of the year.
Yeah.
You're saying take it from the supplies, it accomplishes the same thing.
Yeah, the only thing is, since we've already reduced supplies by 1,500, the other option would be to reduce the repairs line, 5241, because it looks like your actual spend, at least the past 3 years, hasn't been up to the 57 grand mark, so you could
Right.
probably spare 2,500. Basically shift 2,500 out of that and into diesel to bring diesel up to 8,000.
Wait. You think
Because they're at
That's
6,000. They're at 6,000 spent
Instead of the
already,
rest
and you
of
were
the
saying they
year.
might have to fill it up one more time.
Right.
Another 2,000
Yeah, another two grand.
would be by the end of the year.
Unless it snows till June, then we're lucky, right?
No, we're not lucky.
So you'd
That's
move the diesel up to what,
I'd move the diesel.
7,500?
I'd move the diesel up to 8,000,
Okay.
and then somebody will
drop.
do my math, but drop 2,500 from the
The,
repairs line,
repairs
5241, so drop 57,190 by 2,500. Do you have a, I don't have my calculator, but
How much?
55,690. You did the math in my,
round of applause for
What was it?
Laura.
55,690.
God, I hate trying to do that.
Of course, I'm wrong. It should be 54,690.
Oh,
Is it?
I'm gonna do it.
And then
I'm
I,
gonna get my,
oh,
Here we go.
I'm stupid.
It's 54,690.
You didn't carry it over, right?
I
Yeah.
know, I'm like, oh, I'm glad I didn't speak up because I'd have been wrong. Okay.
And then diesel goes to 8,000.
Okay.
Okay.
So Nanachka, do you want me to read through those?
No,
You're like so pissed.
sorry, I got it. Thank you though.
Joe, I have one question. The 590 going up for stickers, I assume these are for heavy trucks and such, because I know I got my vehicles inspected and stickered for $35 a piece.
So sedans are $35 a piece. We have a class that's $60 and another class that's $120.
120.
$120.
But it sounds like you only got one or two new vehicles this year.
2 new vehicles, and they would both be of the $60 variety.
Okay, so 60 plus.
These are
60.
annual stickers, right?
Right.
220.
right.
So you don't get a sticker for 2 years, you get it.
These are annual stickers,
Yeah.
yeah, annual stickers, and,
And if
Oh,
we
so
have
we
a
could
failure though,
actually-
don't we have to go again? Do we have to pay?
No, we only pay
You
for
don't
once.
pay again,
You
you
don't,
just get a
okay.
red sticker
I
until
didn't
you
know.
get, yeah, you
So
have so
why
much
am I seeing a
time.
number like 590 instead of like 120?
Yeah,
Plus or
that's a,
minus?
Because they said that they went over budget last year. Last year, their actual spend was 1,260.
Versus the 810.
Okay, good enough.
And it was last year that they gravitated away from the standard sticker fee everywhere, and once the DOT regulations applied to all municipal equipment, we ended up having to pay the higher fees.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, this was actually based on a count of our rolling stock, so
Yeah.
it's not super arbitrary at all.
Yeah, right on
Pretty
the
accurate.
front, yeah.
All right, so the total bottom line is still the same. 826,204 cents.
I move we approve that budget.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next up, 422. Could you actually just remind us
Sure.
what each of, like, what's covered by the two line items?
So when we buy asphalt, whether it's cold patch or hot mix, it's the patch materials. Catch basin cleaning of all the catch basins in town. Street sweeping of all the roads in town, line painting, which some of that is supplemented through the Public Way Safety Committee line, which years ago, there was a request to paint additional lines. It was separated out, so we paint the lines that we've always painted and then their additional amount that they request. Line painting, any repair work that we do or failures of culverts or, guardrail or any roadway base. And then, some stockpiling of supplies, cement block, catch basin frames and covers, those things that we use in the roadway.
Question, wages.
Um,
We've been requesting in 2017 anyway, 8,000, and never spent that.
Well, didn't they
For
spend
what?
it in?
Are those
in-
police details?
Those are police
Police
details.
details.
I know,
So
but still,
far, you've
really
spent,
high.
6 months in, you'd spent $1,700.
But police details are, you just never know. Like if something happens on an emergency, we had, the glass in the road, or we've had, we need a police detail and,
Yeah, and
because we've gone over
Yeah.
on police details and other things and it's,
when it's an emergency response and the police were the first on scene and they're the reporting party, they don't charge us because those folks are on duty.
but
But if there's work associated in the roadway, whether it's scheduled or it's a result of that, so once that initial call goes, we have to go out, we have to do something, we may be required to get a detail.
This
They can
is
show
like
it.
5,000 even might suffice.
let's see.
I have 8, and
Well, it looks like you spent 8,027.
then
I'm just trying to think of
I'm gonna come back and ask for it. You know, that-
Well, because it sounds like it is the type of thing where it might be unexpected.
And it is, it's one detail on a 1 8-hour shift is $360 an hour cost. We don't pay administrative fee, we don't pay the contractor rate. The town gets a local discount for the detail rate. So we're really, if you, on a bigger job or anything that's in a higher traffic area, you're looking at 2 details. So you're looking at $720 at a time where that you might need it. So really, in the course of a year, you don't know what you need until you need it.
Right.
It's a good thing in the last 2018 and 2019, we didn't need it much.
I guess what I'm sort of wondering is if we brought that down with the understanding that the nature of these things is that it's unanticipated, you could come for a transfer request if you.
But it's not always unanticipated, so when we're out doing ditch maintenance, side of the road, we're clearing ditches and, digging them out and doing maintenance work. We're having at least one policeman with us, that's scheduled, that is anticipated. So when you look at the number of days that we actually do that, we're gonna put the request in for detail, hopefully they fill it, and there have been instances where they can't fill it, and, I have to put guys, including myself, out there in vests and direct traffic.
Yeah.
But,
You could still come for a transfer, is what we're saying. You still get
that's,
the money.
well, I guess that's a Nanatcha question, it's really not unanticipated if I scheduled it.
Right, I would agree.
If I've scheduled the work, it's really not unanticipated, but
Right.
those other events are unanticipated.
So you're saying that you have $8,000 worth of scheduled events?
I think At $720 a day, we're only looking at something on the order of 11 work days in the course of an entire summer that you might use a detail. I'd say on a pretty regular basis, you could expect to have a detail,
I
a pair of
know, I'm
details.
just looking at before, would you have said that last year? I mean, what would make it different?
Do you happen to know
You know what I'm saying?
what your number was this time last year? Cause, so right now,
Yes.
That's what I'm
yeah.
trying to figure out, isn't it?
We were at 6,400 December of 2018.
Yeah.
And
How come
and
I'm
right
not
now
getting
we're at-
it?
That was September,
December of 2000,
This is 422, right?
2017.
I don't have
18.
17, I have 2019, I only have 19 and 20 right here. I have last year's to,
I have 1,600 for last, this, so far, this,
yeah, through December,
This year?
through December of last year, not this past December, but a year ago, we'd only spent $1,600.
Right.
right.
$1,600, 64
I'm sorry, we had
was the balance.
6,400 in
Was
our,
the balance.
the balance, that's what I was.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
yeah, and right
Okay.
now, our balance is 6,240. So we spent 1,760 so far, and that's only through September. So,
Okay,
So this year might be different.
so it,
yeah.
Still.
So I don't know what was done historically. What I do know is I've looked at the drainage infrastructure on the sides of the roadway, and restoring country drainage is one of the big initiatives that we think is very important, mostly because of the better you move the water through those channels, the less it's inclined to go underneath your roadway and make frosties and deteriorate your roads. So we made a real concerted effort. When we're not mowing with the big loader, we're out doing ditch maintenance. So in the course of a year, if you say, might we need a pair of details on 11 occasions, I'd say, yeah, that would
Okay.
be the plan.
like, what if we go out to bid on hot and place asphalt recycling or something? I'm trying to remember, I think we've used, do we use, or do they provide the
If
details?
it was part of a bigger project,
I
we would
can't-
charge just like on the Mass Work
Like when you
project,
did
we would
the-
charge those details to the project.
Okay, so that'd be chapter 90.
And we would charge it to the project.
Okay.
I'm just looking at history. So in the history for the past 2 fiscal years does not support what you're
Right.
saying.
Is it safe to say a lot of these details, because if we're doing road work, it's through chapter 90, or we're doing it with Mass Works, that it's going to projects?
I'm not sure what you just said.
Like, say,
When we're out doing road work as a part of 422, that would not be part of a bigger project, just
okay,
the
that's
work
what
you
I
want to
mean.
take, that would be
That's
some,
everyday stuff,
that's not
what our
eligible for
guys are
reimbursement.
doing. Okay,
That's correct. Anything that's part of a full roadway reconstruction, a culvert project, the mass work, we charge the police details on those
to the
to the
project.
project, to the project.
So I'd like to move it to 5,000.
I mean, given that as of the end of September, you said we'd already spent 1,760.
Mhm.
It seems to me like this year anyway, like there's been some historical variability. Actual 2017 was 8,000. And this year's trending high. I'm comfortable leaving it where it is.
Just revisit it next year.
Yeah.
So we're halfway through, right?
No, she was saying that those numbers are as of the end of September. The 1,760 spent as of the end of September.
Well, you should have December's ledger, though.
No, but I have my account summary.
So is that through
It should
December?
be through December, though.
Oh, it is, I'm just saying, our
That's through
last,
December.
I'm sorry.
So if you
It's
double.
Our
through
last-
December, but the last
It's
December.
through
add
December,
that to
we-
it,
but
you're
our
still under
last-
5.
Our last time we used a detail was in September.
Right, so basically what
So it
what
is
you're
a 6-month spend, though.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, there's two ways of looking at it. There's
exactly,
also like
I-
how many days did they use between July 1 and September? You know what I'm saying? In that short time span.
And then how many days didn't they use it between
Now,
July
and
and
also-
December, not long?
It's
This,
still 6 months.
This-
So
six
you-
months.
Actually, the
it's
answer is
still
right
6
here,
months.
because there's really only 3 separate entries. One officer, 1 day
yeah,
in August, 1 officer, 1 day in early
and
September,
this was
and then
like 3,
3 officers
And-
on 1 day, or
or that could have
1
been,
officer, 3 separate days. in
because
the-
that's one invoice,
So that's where
but
it all
it could
comes out.
be,
And
I'd
when
rather
was
see
that?
him come back.
That was the middle of September, the last time it was used. And honest to God, the reason why we didn't do any more ditch maintenance work is I was literally living on the Mass Work project, running the project.
Yeah.
And I wasn't out there supervising the other drainage work. So all of our focus on work was at that one intersection. It's not gonna be too much different in the spring of this year, early on, but when I say early on, it's middle of March through April. Well, after that project's pretty much winding down, and we'll be doing, out on the road doing, major work, our own drainage work.
Yeah,
You could either leave it where it is in the hopes that we don't have a major event and work towards it, and if there is, that would be unforeseen, and we could probably ask for it.
I mean, I think if we dropped it to 6,
And increase the other,
No, just drop it to 6.
Dropped it, and then if you needed a transfer,
I'm for 5. But I'll settle. I just don't see it, even if I doubled, and if I put another 2,000 into it, I'm still way under. I'm under $4,000. If I double the detail, I'm just saying. But, hey, 6,
yes, Bob.
So I think what Joe is saying is he's gonna be preoccupied with the Mass Works project until the end of this fiscal year. After that, he's got a backlog of ditch and drainage projects that he wants to go pursue. So it's going to be much heavier from July 1st to frost season than it was this past July 1st to frost season.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Sure.
Well, you can't make
Gotcha.
everybody happy.
so 6.
Just wait till we get to the transfer station budget. Yeah, but let's just go with 6.
You can come back. It's not like you just stuck with 6.
That's assuming we have anything.
Well, we'll have $2,000.
Yeah.
3.
But we're using the refrain, we can always come back, we'll have to add up how much we can come back for.
We did out, I know, last year too.
So then that brings the total to 209,100. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I think snow and ice should be easy.
Yeah,
Right.
it is what it is, right?
158,056 to date.
156 today.
158,056 to date. Another event coming this weekend.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Somehow I missed that one.
No,
Where were
Thank you,
we
Joe.
as of last year, do you remember?
Oh, you can't do that, I mean,
No, but I'm just
look at,
curious.
look
Oh,
at
last
the
year?
December
Hold
storms we
on.
had this
Wait,
year.
Hold on, I'll tell you, all right, wait, I have to get my
Because
snow
last
and
year it was
ice.
more like they were weighted toward the end of the
To the end of the season, yeah, this year we got creamed right over the very first
Cold,
storm.
Yeah.
A lot of salt. Huh?
This time last year, let's see, we were at,
I thought we were fine.
Knock on wood right now.
I know. I mean, you think about
let's
it.
see,
What was it,
we had
60,
spent
60-something?
$52,204 as of January 10th.
Yep.
And our balance was at $128,000, and this year,
We're 158, as compared to the 52 last year.
we're gonna be knocking on your
It's
door.
gonna go over.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna need some money.
That's pretty
All right,
accurate.
so is there a motion to approve 423 at 180?
I so moved. Oh, second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
424, street lighting.
not to be confused with traffic lights that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would say remove,
Yeah,
approve.
The repairs are only de minimis increase and it's really just based on what we've been seeing out there for the need. A lot of the direct bury cables that were done in seventies and eighties and even early nineties, the mice are eating like candy.
you know the lights at Danforth, the ones that go up?
Yeah.
Those are the ones that we've had to come and have
I
our
wish you guys
electrician.
Rip those out and put in some cheap, you know what, lights. Like, who put those
And it's just,
expensive things over there?
and how
It's
those
not the
are
lights,
the,
it's the wires that are underground.
It's
The
the-
lights don't find
it's
themselves
the
holding up.
mice,
It's
it's
the wires
the
underground.
wires, I think, and Jim Boudry, our electrician, is like, yeah, they're just, and they're older, everything's getting old and, but that's where,
Do they have a new kind of light cable that maybe the mice don't eat?
So the answer is yes, in the recycling initiative and the organic initiative being what it is, the plastic shielding on cable is soy-based. Who the heck would do that? By the way, it's what's buried in all the new houses' walls too.
this is unrelated, but before I forget, has Parks and Rec talked to you about their potential project related to the lights at the field?
No,
Memorial Field,
Yeah. Has this been-
no.
I think Ally's still trying to work
Okay.
with, and we haven't all gotten together yet.
Okay.
What
we
do I
can
need
talk-
to know?
No,
Offline?
just, they have we can talk about it when they're here, but basically they have a request in their budget because I think there's been some vandalism of those lights, people like turning them on at night to play.
Oh,
The
that,
basketball?
I thought you meant the baseball lights, I'm sorry.
The-
The vandalism at the
sorry.
back, yeah, at the Murphy Court, I was very much involved in that early on. Due to a neighbor complaint, we wanted to get the lights up and functioning again, we did, we put them on the concern would be the kids would be playing ball, police would roast them out at some reasonable level, the lights would stay on all night long, the neighbors were complaining. We put a timer in, secured it, and we know someone was, less than 24 hours, the very next day, the timer was smashed right off the box and bypassed, and we put the timer inside a secure cabinet, riveted the cabinet shut so nobody, they pried it off
Oh my
within a week.
God.
Yeah, so in the essence, Jim Boudry and I, a town's electrician and I, came up with a plan of securing that box and putting it in a pedestal, and putting a concrete pedestal and one of those highway cabinets on. I mean, they could vandalize, but they would really need to hit it with a car or a sledgehammer to do it. We gave them a round number of what they should anticipate, and that was the end of the conversation, so I don't know what they've asked for. I was involved in that early on, and the vandalism is real.
Wow.
Thought you were referring to the new baseball lights.
That's
yet
what- yeah.
Yet to be turned on.
No, they asked for, I wanna say it was like maybe $3,000.
Not
Three
enough.
or
More than that.
$3,000 or
The cabinet alone is
Yeah,
worth $3,000.
more like 30 grand, I would think.
Anyway, but
It is
since you're in touch with them, you're in touch with the Parks and Rec people, so if we have some follow-up, Jay,
Is that coming through as a capital request
no, it's,
within their budget?
yeah,
So, okay, I wouldn't, yeah, maybe Don doesn't know about this either.
cause
I'll reach out to Ally on that.
okay,
I say we move 424, 8100.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Branson Transfer Station.
Oh, how's plastic?
Shoot.
So just walk us through it.
Let me just lay the groundwork. You guys are all educated and have been paying attention to the news and what you're hearing around the society. China 2 years ago stopped accepting our goods, and as that resulted, put a huge glut in the recycling market and the drive to have the cleanest of recycled goods in order for them to have any sort of value at all. There is almost no value. So what we used to get back as some sort of residual value in a recycled byproduct as an income stream went away. What used to be a free cost of processing has now become a very high, expensive cost. And the real dichotomy here is the only, or the largest, I should say, material recycling facility run in Massachusetts is run by Waste Management under a state contract. That contract expires in the end of June. There are cities and towns, and this is gonna be a topic of discussion at MMA on a week from Friday. There are cities and towns who are going to take a firm stand and tell DEP, I don't care what the waste ban says, we're gonna put it in trash, we're not gonna bother separating it, we're not gonna recycle, because we can't afford it.
I just read that article in the Globe.
Yeah.
Some Western Mass towns are just
Yeah.
not recycling anymore.
They're just stopping it. So it's really become a societal problem here that, we are committed to continuing recycling. What we have is a known contract amount for the rental of our dumpsters up the transfer station. We know what it costs every time they pull the dumpster out. It's a cost that's known, identified. We know what it costs to dispose of the solid waste. What we don't have, and it's all driven by commodity and index, what we don't know is the fluctuating cost of plastics, glass, cardboard, paper, mixed paper, and whatnot. What we've seen from a trend perspective is, as we became vigilant in enforcing the use of the transfer station, and we've seen better use of stickered disposal of solid waste, we're seeing an increased volume and tonnage and the frequency of pulls of our recycling. So we're seeing physical increases of participation. At the same time, we're also seeing an add-on cost that we never saw before, and the loss of revenue that we used to receive from it. It's a perfect storm.
It's just going up like crazy.
So what's the
People are
solution?
using more of it.
What do you do?
We have the experts in the state pulling their hair out saying they don't know what they're gonna do. We have, all the folks who are in charge of recycling at the DEP level, at the highest level in the environmental state, having to face folks in Springfield and Westfield and Pittsfield. It's mostly the western part of the states that are getting hit the hardest. Simply telling DEP we're not gonna do it, and the governor doesn't, at this point, is looking to come up with a solution, but we don't have one unless there's a market for the product that we
So at the
produce.
end of this fiscal year, we won't have a place to dispose?
No, I think what's gonna happen is I think we're gonna strike a deal, and I think what we're gonna see is, and not even in our numbers, we're gonna see an increase above and beyond this, above and beyond what we're even forecasting. What we've done in here is take those known contractual fees,
Right.
we've taken the trends of what we have been paying, we've taken the trends of the volume that we've been generating, and we forecasted them out over next year and held everything else equal. And that's the increases that we've asked for in there. It does nothing to speak to the other volatility,
What's
and
gonna,
which is
yeah.
even more alarming.
So basically,
To underscore it all, every single Monday, like routine, Leslie gets let's call in our products to have them taken away 2 weeks in a row. Last week never picked up, and this week not picked up yet. We have no place to put our glass.
Oh, no, they did pick it up.
Just today, right? They didn't get it yesterday.
No. It was before the styrofoam recycling event. But you're just
So that
It
they.
was-
basically,
it was-
they were
they missed a
supposed to
week.
pick
They
it up,
missed
it's
a
like a week and a half. We had a full bin of
Right.
glass.
Because they had no place to bring it themselves.
The glass, basically BP used to just take the glass, and now we're getting a separate bill from a glass company that BP contracts out to.
Nicolay Arrow.
Yeah, and they couldn't pick it up, so we have people coming in to put glass in, and
You can't.
a lot of people, which was really great, because they said, listen, you could put it into the compactor, or you could just choose to bring it back once this is empty. A lot of people took their glass home and said, okay, we'll come back, which is a big pain,
But they did it.
but they did.
I think it's a harbinger of what's,
Right.
what we're about to face. We're gonna see things like, even though they were expensive markets to dispose of, or to haul and dispose of this stuff, I think we're now seeing a reduction in facilities being able to take it in. And should there be a big hiccup with that waste management facility, we could be facing this not just with glass, but with all recycled products.
What do you use recycled glass for? I mean, what do they do with glass? Do you
So-
know?
So there was
You
only,
would know.
They make more glass.
No,
No.
the only glass recycling plant in New England that would take glass and make bottles out of that glass
Yeah.
closed a year and a half ago. That's one of our hits. What they're using glass for now is DEP, is as an aggregate.
But
As an
Harrow used
aggregate.
to come
They're
in
mixing it, yeah, and they're using it on
No
the
wonder my
structural
tires
field.
don't last as long.
But aren't they
It's the same
having
as the
some issues,
foundations
I
and
think,
subdivisions.
but aren't they having issues with the
Yeah, I thought,
glass? I heard something where it's,
And so glass,
glass would be an easy recyclable thing.
so glass not so much of an issue with it, just that there's a seasonal market for it and there's not a lot of people want it. Separating the glass, it has to have no more than a 5% residue. So when you have caps of paper on the label, or you have people with lines inside it, the whole load gets rejected.
Oh,
So
my
the use
goodness,
of
I didn't know
aggregates
that.
is,
that, yeah, that's another,
They used to use
So
it for
then if
light
you
bulbs.
clean it out, then you're using other energy like hot water and oil and stuff to
it's,
clean them.
clean, yeah.
So that's a heck of a groundwork I want to lay, but the numbers that we've presented here, as alarming as they may be,
They're actually maybe
based on a conservative.
It's
They're
scary.
based on trends that we have tracked over the past year, based on increased usage, participation, maintaining that trend through next year, and the known contractual prices that we've been paying. And we've been averaging the commodity values, those that have been fluctuating, we've been averaging those over the life of this past year. And that's where our derived numbers come from.
I know you went over this with me last year, and I was batting around the idea, why do we even have to have a transfer station to take trash in? Which, yeah, I get that.
You were the first public official who probably said it before Springfield and Westfield. They're saying the same question, why are we in this business?
I mean, it's just to give, your, taxpayers some kind of, benefit for living in town and paying taxes, but they don't maybe wanna pay, what would they do with the trash anyway, though? I mean, would they,
I think there's an obligation. just for-
I
It's
think-
a statutory obligation, isn't it?
I don't think so,
There isn't.
no.
There isn't.
And I'm speaking only from my own perspective here. My guess is it costs at least as much to have it privately taken away as it does to have the town get rid of it for you. However, I think that this is a subject that probably the selectmen should revisit in the fall, when some of the smoke clears and we're not in a budget situation and we say, do we do away with recycling and everything is trash? Or do we do only certain kinds of recycling? Or do we do away with
Right,
the transfer station altogether? Those are all fair questions. My personal perspective is there's just too much in flux right now to kind of make that decision this spring.
Thank you, and I don't want anybody at home or in this room to think that we're advocating for giving up recycling. I want to demonstrate to what extremes this question is being debated in other communities. That,
Right.
Right,
there is a state law that establishes a waste ban. You shall not put certain items in municipal solid waste, and they include glass and paper and plastic, and those things that, that we recycle. And the waste ban is there initially to promote recycling, but nonetheless, they're law. So to, hard and fast say we're going to give it up is almost like thumbing your nose at the government saying we are not going to abide by the law.
Well, Joe, what's single stream recycling then?
It's funny, the big push was driven by labor, the vendors like Waste Management and the big guys.
Right.
They felt that multiple trucks, multiple drivers, picking up different items separately, putting them in a truck and bringing them to a location only to be sorted. You weren't getting any cleaner product than simply one truck, one driver, drive down the street, pick them all up together and send it to a MRF, materials recovery facility. All goes up a conveyor and it's all air separated and hand-picked, and at the end of the stream, it's every bit as clean and far less labor intensive. So they did it for their own business bottom line.
Right.
The problem is the residue, the byproduct at the end that wasn't clean, they had to deal with, and the products that were being baled and shipped out were so unclean, places like China said,
Yeah,
no more,
yeah, too much
no
contamination.
more.
Can't blame 'em.
But so in single stream recycling, you're mixing bottles and cardboard and tin cans and.
As a matter of convenience,
Glass.
they sold it as convenience to the homeowner, but the reality it was helping their bottom line.
Okay,
And in the process, creating a dirtier product.
so according to state law, irrespective of the cost, we have to have trash has gotta be separated from recycling.
Correct.
Okay,
But it doesn't need to be separated from each other. All your
Recycling
recycling could be in one huge container,
okay.
but that would obviously affect the value that we pay in processing.
Right. My understanding is it's the single stream stuff that's being rejected overseas. So I think if the market comes back, it'll be for the separated stuff like we provide.
I wish I knew what the other country was.
India,
Was it India? It's something not to be proud of.
that's
Who
the
just this past week rejected the
Yeah,
United States.
my understanding,
recycling.
some article I read said that it was India picking up a lot of the slack, and then they just
Just
they
turned
just
away.
said no to the single stream stuff. But that's an interesting distinction, they're not rejecting the sorted stuff, just the single stream stuff, because they would do the sorting there.
Does corrugated cardboard still have a market? Because with everybody buying,
So we're paying for it to be processed. I mean, there's a market for everything, it's just how much do you wanna pay to
Right.
bring it to market, or how much does it cost us to get rid of it?
because there's
before it
so
goes to
much
market.
more corrugated cardboard every single week, it seems.
Well, with the rise of the delivery services,
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
you know, you got multiple delivery trucks delivering cardboard boxes.
Right, that's exactly what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Now, we lay all that down as the groundwork for the big discussion, but the reality is, we're not here to solve the problems of the
Yeah.
world.
No.
What we have is a number that's alarming, and it's only gonna get worse.
So can you tell me what the bottom line number you have is for transportation?
152,035?
No, so that's where I'm saying we're
We
missing
are.
a page.
Missing a
Yeah, you need that,
okay.
you need that salary and wage piece,
Is it 226135?
so the
Yeah.
transfer station salary
Yeah.
wage.
Dang it.
Okay, you added that in, okay.
Looking at her.
Um, 180,600?
No, I meant, that's,
226135, so you have, right?
135, yes.
Yes, which is comprised of
Oh, I don't have
45,
the
535,
budget. I don't
04,
have the wages.
and salary and wages, and the rest is,
oh,
in fact, what's verified, is in fact what we requested, and it is.
What is the total?
226135. You have that, Brian, right?
Yeah.
135.
What was it last
Just
year?
the wages from that?
Last year it was
206.
206.
Okay.
535. So is there a motion to approve?
I'll move, we approve.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then 450, 491, and 690. One thing I wanted to note, the NOSTA, I believe they increased their 450 request to 5,500, but in our budget spreadsheet, it's still only 5,000.
5,000 that we have.
For what now?
I will change.
So this request is up 500, but in the spreadsheet,
It's not.
Oh,
it's
Yeah.
still at 5,000.
And I'm not sure if this
And
is
why is-
the time to take care of housekeeping.
Yeah.
450 water, 5201 has a subtitle, well monitoring. That is not what this is. It's the Safe Drinking Water Act assessment. As a public water supply, you have to pay an assessment based on the water.
That's what
That's
it
needed.
actually.
That's what it actually is.
Let's call it what it is.
Drinking
Yes,
water.
Should I say water assessment?
Actually, in
What we do
your muni codes, there was an SDWA assessment, muni code. Safe Drinking Water Act
Safe
assessment.
Do we have a municipal water center? Or I guess just for the school?
No, so they're on their own. Police station, the library, and those are the only, police and fire station.
Or
and the
probably the
library.
Houghton building, maybe?
Nope.
No?
Nope, not public
Town
one.
hall, maybe?
Nope.
It's,
How does it
it's
fluctuate
all the
so
well
much?
from the library put in there.
We just, it's an assessment in
Prior
ADP.
Came
to
in,
Lisa on it.
It's a bill.
And the second
Basically, it's what
page.
we know it's going to be.
turn to the second page, you circled it, and it kind of adds up
It's
to,
an assessment, we can't.
So it's gonna be 5,500.
Yeah,
So that's what it is.
I see, because I was just wondering why it was 2821 last year, but I see.
So is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
The line, the total for water under 450 says total sewer.
Wow, wow, that's interesting.
Thank you.
Okay, and then cemetery. That's,
okay. We're keeping that the same, but I just want you to know, I've met with, because I had to, I said, please don't take our $5,000. I've been meeting with the cemetery commission. I have another meeting tomorrow. We had the tree warden come in with Don Baum, he's a employee with the DPW, but he's very familiar with the cemetery grounds. So the tree warden and Don Baum went in because there's a lot of trees that need to be removed, that we need to,
Is that mine?
I don't know, I think that was mine, sorry.
What the heck is it?
And a lot of tree trimming, maintenance, so they went and kind of did a look around of what is most important, what needs to come down first, and it's kind of all there in that summary, and basically what the plan is to just do what they can, chip away at it using the $5,000. There's fence repairs that have to be done that we're waiting on an estimate from a fence company, all kinds fence, just to come in and let us know what to expect. So we're planning, and I'm meeting with them again tomorrow, with the cemetery commission, because I told them, I said, listen, we have to make a plan. And if moving forward, let's see what we could do, let's see what we could get done with the $5,000 we have.
so let me just, so we have a 3,000 purchase of services line and then the 5,000 that you're talking about, which,
Right.
so this addresses the 5,000.
Yes, the 3,000 is just opening
grave.
graves, so that's whether it's an urn, whether it's a full burial, if it's on a weekend, a holiday, a Sunday, it's,
Okay,
so that 3,000 covers our contractor to come in, and that, you just never know. We're gonna keep, because hopefully you don't go over it, is that okay? We're all hoping it
Yeah.
stays
That would
below
be
budget.
unexpected and unforeseen.
Exactly, so so I can always come and ask for money, but hopefully I don't have to.
Yeah.
But,
Waldo is unique in many, many ways. It's very unique when it comes to cemeteries. Cemetery commissions, besides overseeing the general visual appeal of the cemetery, they also administer the cemetery perpetual care trust funds. And really, you derive income from sale of graves, and you get a perpetual care fee that's charged to the decedent's family, and it's what is used to maintain cemeteries. And you have to invest the principal, and you can only spend the interest for that purpose. We don't sell graves. We don't have a perpetual care account. So
We do have a perpetual care trust fund.
and does any of that money come from here, or is it just?
Well, nobody does anything with it. I mean, you're right, people, other towns do, yeah. I know.
This is the only place that historically that they've been maintaining it, and honestly is that, in a little bit I've been around, one of our most sacred areas is under the one of the most neglected areas with, trees and vulnerabilities and limbs falling down and toppling 100-year-old, 200-year-old gravestones. So the thought is, you've got that money, go in there and prevent, clean these areas up and prevent that damage. It just makes sense, and they're committed to do it. They're committed to do it, and so, not that they're ever gonna ask for more in the
oh no,
time
we
being.
might.
In the time being,
What I said to them is like.
but they gotta demonstrate they're using it.
Right, I said, if you could demonstrate we're using it, and if I'm not on the,
Yes, how much is in that?
I don't know.
I'll talk to Nanachka
I can
about
find
that
out. I
tomorrow.
just don't know off the top of my head. But you're right, you can
It
only
can't
use,
be much, you can only use some of the.
you can only use the expendable portion, right?
But like I told them, and the thing is, I'm not on the commission, I'm just the DPW kind of saying, listen, I'm here to help you, let me help organize this, so let's
Yeah.
use this money, you guys are gonna get it taken away. So they're pretty serious about it, I've got 3 great the commission's really meeting every month, and we're just gonna try to chip away at it, and then as they make a plan, and if we say, hey, can we have another $1,000 this year because we wanna do this, or this, and even, it's something we can meet with the historical commission on too, talking about other.
Get some of the stuff.
We
Knock
need
it
to,
off.
yeah, and cause it's been,
So related to that, do you think most of the work would be done like in an incremental adjustment, or do you also think there might be a longer term, like big capital project related?
we're not even that far into it yet, but I don't think so.
So there's a capital item that was on a list when I arrived, and it was, I think there is a parcel of land that the town has taken title to, out of the corner of Corn and Sugar Road,
Zinc property.
The green.
the zinc property.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and it's slated for
That was-
cemetery use, maybe it's even dedicated to cemetery use sometime in the future. Whether it's viable or not, I'd walk the site. If you've driven down the highway, and you all have, just as you go
Right.
to River Road, if you look at the rock escarpment that you're driving through, it's all bedrock. It's probably not suitable for cemetery. But on a plan, on a vision, they see that as being a cemetery. And that'll be a capital request in the future.
Is that the same place where they had dumped?
Yes.
Yep.
Court, yeah,
it
that
was a-
area.
it was a
They say it's
hazardous
not
waste.
contaminated, right?
Right.
Oh, we don't know.
I walked it, there's all kinds of stuff, mostly farm implements from what I can see.
My recollection is we approved the trail through there though.
Hey, what?
A
Trail.
A trail, yes.
Didn't we approve a trail through the zinc property a few years ago?
Yes.
The same parcel or the
Well, I don't know.
zinc route? Because there is a trail that's a little further down Corn Road that goes to the west. I'm not sure if that was zinc property, but there is a
There are multiple
trailhead.
zinc properties, so I don't know.
Yeah.
And they never paid any taxes.
Maybe I-
Because there is no, I mean, they may have approved, but there is no trail on that property as of yet. On the one with that,
all right.
and the point is, that I think is envisioned to be a capital request from the cemetery sometime down the road.
All right, so is there a motion to approve sanitary?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's a vote of 4-0, but you can ask Dan. Let's get that. Maybe it's 5-0. All right, and Memorial Day.
That we're keeping the same, and we raised it last year
Yeah.
because we've included, basically what that was for originally was the Memorial Day celebration where they purchased the stick flags and all the flowers. And the flowers, it's going up, and we had 1,300 in there, and we were just making it. And there's more veterans now. Again, the population's going up, the flowers are getting more expensive. But with the onset of Hometown Heroes, keeping the flags in the whole town, the ones on Main Street, the ones at all the public buildings, whether they're American flags, town flags, POW flags, it was just all over the place, and we didn't know, there'd be a flag ripped apart at the public safety building, and there was no central location, so that's why we brought this budget up to 2,800, so this covers every flag in every public building, the ones, we had a donator, who, purchased the flags along Main Street, but we don't know if that will be, you don't know if that's gonna happen forever, but if something needs to be, sometimes they get ripped, or they need to be replaced, so it's in one central location, and it's just to kind of keep everything respectfully the way it should be, and it also pays for the hardware of all the flags and stuff like that. So
And not initially, but, the hardware that may snap up, break, needs to be replaced, it's only that hardware.
Right, it just,
Stuff's pretty durable, but it's not
but it's,
indestructible.
yeah. And if a new flag needs to be purchased, we just go and get one. It's just one area, one location and.
Yep.
So,
Sounds good.
I move we approve
I
this.
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I assume you were cool with
Budget.
the cemetery budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
She's a yes on that. All right,
Sorry, I
so with our few remaining moments, maybe just walk us through the DPW capital requests. And also, as you're, maybe even before you do that, there's a list of articles with some balances, like unexpended amounts. And we didn't know whether you're able to confirm any amounts that can be released or unexpended. And maybe, I think this might relate to one of your capital requests too, so.
Sure.
However, whatever you think makes it cleanest to get through them all, but at some point, I do wanna make sure we touch on any, balances in the articles.
Yeah, so as far as prior balances, I think there's two. One, you may not even see it, and that's the water, just last town meeting, which I think was that Article 16? Water kill engineering?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the design services came in cheaper than what was appropriated at town meeting, but we still don't have the bid. We'll go into conservation in a couple of weeks in the hopes that we will have bid results before the close of the warrant, which will definitely happen before town meeting.
So there's $55,142.50 left in the water aquatic engineering line.
So that's still ongoing.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, that's a $61,000 contract,
Oh,
so
okay.
that will be
So that'll all
$61,000.
be gone?
Nope, it'll be all but 19,000 gone, so that was an 80,000 appropriation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's 61 is what the contract amount is for that design.
So could we release any of the funds or no?
So Dawn and I, as he sat down with me and going over the DPW priorities, and he's done that with several departments, making capital requests. At some point, he's gonna consolidate and come up with a total prioritization. I gave him targets, some of which is going to either be outright rescinded for future use, some might be repurposed if they are civil use. Like that water aquatic engineering, he may be able to repurpose some of that towards the construction article from last year. If the bid needs it.
So would it help if I sent you a list of everything that I have left?
We verify what, I tracked them all separately, but yeah, we verify the accuracy of what I have.
And that way you can let me know, because I'd like to get everything that we can be released, put on this spreadsheet.
So I think the good one is
Use it as
Long Hill
available.
Road, that's closed, so if you look at the balance on Long
Yeah,
Hill
that's
Road.
what I was gonna, that's one.
yeah,
There's
I
like
could pull up all our
$1,500 on a
articles,
dump truck. Yeah, I mean, there's little, like, I just
little
wanna
things I
clean.
could do that,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, I'll get that
Yeah,
to
we
you
have
guys
all that.
tomorrow.
And the only other one that has a balance, it's around 19,000, not sure, for the portico,
11,000.
11,000. Dawn's hoping to repurpose that to maybe commission a landscape
Oh, for the
architecture.
landscape.
Or whatever you might do up front here, and, that's very early in the process, whether that's something
Okay.
that makes
I'm
sense or
sure.
not.
Yeah.
But if it's not gonna be used for that, it'll simply get rescinded.
Alright, so then maybe the way to handle it is, we'll just assume that you'll coordinate with Anachka on your articles and provide her with a sense of things that might be able to be released. What were you gonna say?
Well, the 55,000 that was originally thought to be released is being reduced down to 19.
Yeah.
But the $30,000 difference is in your available funds. So that's gonna reduce your available funds
Right.
by $30,000.
Right, but
I'm
then
hoping I
it
can
might
grab a little
be
more,
pulling other,
Okay.
yeah.
but yeah, no,
So,
Yeah.
Those are numbers that John already is working with, right? But I think the conversation he and I had was probably in light of those things,
yeah, I haven't had a conversation with Don specifically about these numbers, but yeah. I'll itemize it all, cause I'll send it to whoever has any other balances left. I think I talked to Jeff, but yeah.
Okay,
So we looked at the 5-year plan, looked at major construction projects, and we looked at equipment. And we, have a methodical plan over the years. We prioritized them within each year, and Don and I sat down and we looked at the ones, year 1, year 2, and simply consolidated those priorities. And he using that as a benchmark of how they measure up against other departments' requests. So it's still an ongoing effort, and it's close.
That's my thought.
It's not me.
all right, so why don't you walk us through your proposals for FY '21?
Okay, sure. So the Aquatic Hill Road culvert will be the actual construction of that work. If we hit our thresholds where we think we are, conservation meeting soon, the bid's going out with results in the spring. We would hope to issue a notice to proceed this summer, early summer, and that work would start and complete this summer.
So the estimate is
420,
420, and what is that based on? What's that number?
based on a preliminary engineering estimate, as the design development has moved forward, we find it to still be reasonable. The proof will always be in the pudding. The last time we opened bids on the Long Hill Road culvert, we were pleasantly surprised. It resulted in considerable savings. We had a really competitive market, really strong competition on plan holders. If we get that here, we'll know that number because the bids will be open before town meeting. So if we can stand at town meeting and say, I'd like to, I'm not a voter, but I have someone entertain a reduction to use it to the bid number with a with a construction contingency.
So we keep 420 in as a
For now,
placeholder,
yes.
but by town meeting, you'll probably have, maybe even, before town meeting.
Before town meeting, we'll have a good idea of what it will be. By town meeting, we definitely will,
Okay,
barring an appeal of anything that happens to conservation. That could slow us down.
all right, so then next, because we're not gonna ask a ton of questions about these now, but just get the later one.
So the next one goes to worker health safety. The diesel generator at the police station, the way it is designed and the way it was built, has an exhaust stack that dumps directly at the air intakes. And it has been sucking particulate matter and diesel fumes into the building forever and ever and ever. So we've looked at we've had some consultants look at it, and we've actually had some hospital folks who have had similar problems with real sensitive, air equipment, and we've gotten some proposals of what we think it's about a $57,000 fix.
Now, what is this? Diesel?
So the generator, so when there's a power failure in a
Generator,
public safety
yeah.
building, the generator has to run the entire facility. So, yeah, and ironically, you hope to never or seldom use a generator, public safety building.
Well, you have to test it,
You have to
you have
test
to
it.
run it every
We
week
test it,
or
every
whatever.
Tuesday morning and,
Yeah.
for half hour, so it's that on a regular basis. And then during snowstorms and during emergencies, that thing runs 3-4 days at a time.
That's the description.
Yep. So that's we believe to be a $57,000 number. We will not have good results on that before town meeting.
Okay.
The next item is, and I had this broken to 2 years, and through the course of conversation with Don, he agreed that they both ought to be considered as this year, within my priorities, would be replacing our turf mowers, our lawn mowers. We have 4. None of them have rollover protection. Every single one of them is non-OSHA compliant. It's what our younger student interns run in the summertime for mowing lawns. So we felt that you're getting the OSHA compliant lawnmowers is a health safety issue. So we lumped them all into this year as opposed to 2 separate years.
Yeah.
And then it drops down from there as far as higher priorities, that these are lesser priorities.
Yeah, price on the ocean,
39.6. 39.6. It's a pretty solid number, because that's a state contract.
Which one is that one?
So, okay, so it showed up as 2 requests, a 19,800 and a 23,000.
The 23 was because it was an out year.
Oh, year, so you're combining them and it's going down to
Single
31.
purchase, yeah.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
all right. then, yeah,
the-
go ahead.
The garage doors at the DPW yard, the lower panels are highly deteriorated and some outright failed. We're looking to replace all 4 doors in that facility. The irony here is that I formulated this request at the end of last year, and this year we've had 4 broken springs and 2 broken tracks and 1 broken bottom panel that literally just snapped. So, it's a lower priority because it just doesn't measure up against the health safety issues that we might have to continue to maintain them if the money isn't there, but that's a $28,000 ask.
Okay.
Landscape improvements, that's a multiple phase request, and it's not high on anybody's priority. However, it's recognition that there've been several folks who've said several different things from different perspectives, like we should do something about our flagpole, we have an erosion problem in the front yard, we have the steepness of grade of the driveway, we have the railings that are falling. All of those things individually become a project to be looked at.
Oh, now's when you should
I was
ask
just
about
gonna,
the
I was just
reflector.
gonna say,
Yeah.
Anne has a request.
Driveway.
Here,
Because when I'm going east on 117 to get to this meeting, and all the cars are coming the other way with the lights on, I can't tell where the driveway is.
That's true, it's very hard to see where to
And
turn.
just the
I'm sitting
opening of this
there.
driveway.
A little reflector.
Oh, I know what you're asking, but I'm not sure where,
Right
so,
down
Right
by the
here.
driveway, just to turn into
Right,
town
town
hall.
hall.
just so you can see it better.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you're heading.
Yeah, I have this vision that I'm going to end up on somebody's lawn.
Yeah, you have no idea
Well,
where the
that's-
opening is.
That is
Yeah.
far less than the 13,000, I think we could do that ahead of
I
time.
would
that
even
now.
buy the
Just a
reflector as a
stick.
donation.
My gosh, you can even,
The first one, I'm responsible for everyone we knock over after that.
But it just drives me nuts, I'm crawling along. And I mentioned this, and 3
Thank
people in
you.
the room said, it's a great idea.
It is.
Low cost, easy fix.
okay, let's get back to the other thing now. Let's get back to-
So,
This is the front garden, and
so the thing you see, there's an item that's broken into 2 phases, an architectural study first, and then from there, what does this project ultimately look like, and what might that future capital request be? Big numbers, they're always to address multiple reports of needs and from different sources, and again, it's not high in the priority, but Dawn believes that if we were to repurpose money that was left over from the portico to at least act as a catalyst to start this, maybe it would set a vision for what we want to do out there for years to come.
so,
Where is this, right
whole
in front
front-
here?
Yeah.
And why will we have to change it for? Or
Only
what?
in response to a lot of recommendations and suggestions by, constituents and town officials. A lot of the water runs off the driveway into the garden area and washes out the mulch all the time, just washes it out. The garden is overgrown and unsightly. The railings, the iron railings, they're awful, they need to be restored, if not replaced. There's a request that our flagpole that is near the front of the building isn't visible from the street, so, you should incorporate, but all those things come together, so, the thought would be that, as a request, if all these people are saying these things, we should look at it in a unified
I'm
fashion.
still, I hate that, all these people, because then I'm gonna make you name all those people when you say all those people. Like, are we talking 10 people, 100 people?
I'm talking several people that I know of, Bill White for one, Martha
Okay,
Reb,
I'm just, most people drive up and they park in the back and they use the back. Of course, it's beautification of when you drive by, it's like, oh, look how beautiful the front of town hall is. Okay, that's how I feel. I'm sorry.
it's clearly nowhere near the top.
Anybody else?
And the thought that Dawn had was if it was appropriate to use the surplus to the residual money left from the portico project as part of the beautification of the front of the building,
Well,
we
let's
might
see
wanna
what
look
we
at that.
need at the end of this budget.
That's
cycle.
that's the
because
genesis of the
To
ask.
say, sure, let's take that money and do the groundwork. We may need that for, who knows?
And this isn't even for groundwork, this is only
Well, I
to commission the landscape
so
architecture.
that's what I was gonna ask, so if there was roughly 11 to 13,000 left over in the town hall article, would that 11 to 13,000 be going toward design stuff, or would it be going toward actual work being done?
Only design, only design.
It's like a lot when we are in such a budget.
Yeah, no, so just, yeah,
So it's number 5 out of the list that, we were able to cull out, and there are others from other departments, so we know it's not gonna rise high. But
Okay.
nonetheless, the folks who've asked, we can say it's in there.
Well, you're right to flag it, and then we can make decisions.
And then what was after that?
The radio system, two-way radio system. We've left that in there, we've asked for it last year, it didn't pass committee last year, I don't think it even made it to the floor of town hall, town meeting. Still there, our FCC license expires, not this coming March, but next March. So we're in a real vulnerability of, once we lose the license, getting the license back. This committee asked me to break it, that was a subcommittee who asked me to break it into 2 phases last year. This continues to be only the first phase of a 2-year phase undertaking. It does get us the FCC license in the first year. So that's,
Why, if it seems so important, does it seem to be item 5 on your list, or 6 anyway?
I think it's 5 instead of a 6, but all of the other life safety things ahead of it, and the other things that are certainly higher priority.
Okay.
But I think the 2-way radios rise above the landscape improvements, but I think John was prioritizing it, I think of that, only in the interest of maybe using money that he already had.
Right.
I think it's how that was a tiebreaker for him.
What's the other phase of the radio system supposed to come?
It's a 38 and a
23.
23.
First phase is 38,000.
Okay. Well, so I think the way that this is gonna unfold is we'll have a meeting at the very end with Don Lowe.
How about the library one? There were 2 other library
Painting and
capital
survey.
Paving
projects.
and painting.
Oh, yeah.
Do it all at one time.
So has the library projects been run through you?
Yes, actually, those are the numbers that I solicited on behalf of the library, and I verified the accuracy of the numbers with John. They're coming through their request, but
Oh.
it's my work.
Okay,
Something Town building, right?
so will the library be presenting them when they meet? Like,
Yes.
Okay,
I believe it came in as they request, yes, they'll be presenting it.
okay. Yeah, so we'll.
So in a similar fashion, John's dubious mission will then be, take all of those and make an aggregated priority list. And
Yeah.
have to put one in front of another.
Okay, but yeah, but he'll be working directly with you, but then we'll have our meeting with him and then
Sure.
vote. Okay. So I think that's it. Any other questions? Thanks for your time. I know you were here for a while.
This is nothing. I'm used to 5-hour budget meetings.
We'll have minutes next week. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, good night.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night, thank you very much.
Because they take my stuff, they need my clips.
We're at 6:30 again next week.
Actually, I really like that. I think about it.